Previously on Ready to Die.
Are both those mics being used?
This one is.
Oh, it's fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, Investigator Viverito, where we left off yesterday, we were talking about a post that was captured by you that showed Quamarvius Nichols with some writing on the picture, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We are going to get back to that later.
Sure.
Okay. So we're going to switch to another topic right now. But it is about the post from March 2022 that you collected.
Okay.
Okay. The reality is, in March 2022, you observed and collected some posts that you felt were relevant
Sure.
and that you felt were derogatory or mocking both the Christian McMiller and Darius Ford situation.
I'd have to see which posts were.
Well, we're going to get to individual
Okay.
posts, but some of the posts were derogatory and mocking Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
And then you also pulled posts that you thought were derogatory or referencing or mocking Jamel Drinks' death. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay. And let's be clear. As an investigator, you are not saying just because someone posts something derogatory or mocking or referencing the death of another individual, that means that they committed that crime. You are not saying that, are you?
That is correct.
Okay. And I just want to talk to you about a couple of these posts. I'm going to bring them up to you, okay? These are all this is a bundle of the posts that you collected that are in evidence, correct?
Sure.
All right, may I approach?
Yes.
For instance, you observed some posts that were made following the Christian McMiller Darius Ford double homicide
Correct.
on March 10th going into March 11th. And these posts were in the days following.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, could you do me a favor and publish what's been admitted as 457 VV? Investigator Viverito, this is a post posted by one ABG _ Big Nick, correct?
Correct.
And you know this person from the picture and also from his name on Instagram to be Nicholas Johnson.
Correct.
Okay. And in this post, when was this post collected by you?
That was collected. Would have been around 8:20 on March 11th.
March 11th. Okay. So this is the morning after Christian McMiller and Darius Ford were gunned down.
The evening. 8:20 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the evening after.
Correct.
About 20 hours after, 21 hours, or 19 hours after.
Somewhere around there.
Okay. And this post includes it says slime and chalk.
Correct.
Okay. And you viewed this as a clear reference to Darius Ford and Christian McMiller being murdered in reference to a chalk outline of a body on the street.
Correct. Coupled with my knowledge and interactions with Mr. Johnson in the past, yes.
Right. I think you testified that Mr. Johnson, in your opinion, he's associated with Atlanta Blood Gang.
He's documented as a member, and he's also a fixture at 12 Atlanta Daily.
Okay. So you saw this post, posted the next day, referencing the death, mocking slime and chalk. Mr. Johnson has not been charged for
Correct.
the murders of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
And the reason he hasn't been charged is because posting something like this, while it is insensitive, while it may be wrong, it doesn't mean that he killed Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, does it?
Correct. There's other things we would look at, like if he was in the vicinity of the murder on camera, coupled with a post that's not great, that would be something we take into consideration, but that didn't happen.
And Investigator Viverito, I knew you were going to be dying to say that, and we are going to talk about all the surveillance videos and all of the situation involving Mr. Drinks when I get to it, okay? But
He's
I'm asking
heating up!
specifically about posts. Posts that is not a confession to killing Darius Ford or Christian McMiller, is it?
Absolutely not. But as an investigator, you need to look at things as a whole to piece things together, leading you towards suspects. So,
Okay, and that's why you collected this.
correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, I'm going to ask you to publish 462 VV. Okay. 462 VV is two posts
Boom shakalaka!
that showed up on this page labeled Joey _ Hurst 24, correct?
Correct.
All right, and on the left is Christian McMiller,
Correct.
and on the right is Darius Ford.
Correct.
And they're fairly self-explanatory. They're mocking the death of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, correct?
Correct.
All right, and this was posted when?
I'd have to see the file name.
Okay, so you're not, and that's fine. Was it posted after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand your belief is that this is a trolling page or a fake page. Is that correct?
It's a page. Yes, it's a page that we had not seen surface really or be vocal until this point.
Now, and certainly when you see a page like this, there are certain investigative things that you could do to try to determine who was behind this page, correct?
Correct.
You could subpoena Instagram, you could check IP addresses to see who set up the page, etc.
You could.
Okay. You or anyone else that you know of did no such thing to try to determine who Joey Hurst was, the
No.
government name. Okay. And the reason you didn't, and I'm not trying to beat you up, the reason you didn't go through those steps, if you thought this was a confession, and you thought this meant that Joey Hurst killed Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford, you certainly would have gone through those steps to uncover who it is behind this post, if you thought that was the killer.
If I thought that was, but the investigation led us to other suspects.
Okay. The bottom line is, you did not view these posts as signifying that whoever was behind this account was the killer of Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford. You didn't view it that way.
Correct. The individuals that were making posts who we deemed as suspects, they were further investigated, whether it be cell phone extractions or social media.
Okay. 456 VV.
He's on fire!
And, this post was collected on March 11th, 2022 at 11:30 p.m., correct?
Correct?
Okay, so again, about a day after Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were killed.
Correct.
Okay, and you testified on direct about what you thought. New op pack just came in. It's kind of like we're smoking on our ops,
Correct.
Okay. Certainly
He's heating
not
up!
kind, not nice, not sympathetic, and it's showing approval for what happened, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this page is another one that you didn't know the government name of the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't go through any investigative steps, or anyone else that you know of go through any investigative steps to determine the person behind it.
Correct.
Okay, and the reason, again, is because this post, you didn't take it as a confession. You didn't take this post as saying, I'm the person who did it.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Finally, we're going to talk about Kelvin Watts.
Okay.
Okay, Kelvin Watts has not been arrested for the Christian McMiller or Darius Ford murder, has he?
He has not.
Okay. And this has all happened 2 years ago. At this
Correct.
point. Okay. Really 2.5 years ago, more than 2.5 years ago. Mr. Watts made several posts regarding the death of Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, could you please publish 473 VV for me? Okay. In 473 VV, that's posted by Shellkel Nutlife, correct?
Correct.
And you know that to be Kelvin Watts.
Correct.
And this was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
Okay, and this actually depicts Mr. Donovan Thomas.
Correct.
And underneath Mr. Thomas's left eye are two shells.
Correct.
Okay, and as an investigator, you're aware of like prison tattoos or eye teardrops under an eye, correct?
Yes, that's what I spoke about on direct.
Okay, right. And you took this as kind of a play on the teardrops under the eyes of two shells indicating two bodies, Darius Ford and Christian McMiller.
Correct. The first time we started seeing the two shells under the eye was after the death of Christian Ford and Darius McMiller, I think, in days following.
Okay, Ms. Knight, could you please publish 461 VV? Here's another picture of Shellkel or Kelvin Watts that posted shortly after the
He's heating up!
and Darius Ford, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and these are, you gotta look a little close, but I see the big shell off of his hair, but then there's two little shells under his left eye.
Correct.
Okay, and again, that's a post that you interpreted to be a reference to the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you could publish 454 VV, please. Okay, in this post, again, shortly after the death of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, correct?
This was in the hours after they were killed, yes.
And this is on Kelvin Watts' page.
Yes.
And again, we see the two shells.
Correct.
Okay, and that had significance to you because it was two dead bodies.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
He's heating
And,
up!
460 VV, please, Ms. Knight.
He's on fire!
Okay, again, here, this was posted shortly after the death of Christian McMiller.
Is it the shoes?
Correct.
And-
He's on fire!
Right?
Correct.
And we have a smiley face, except the lips are zip tied or zipped up, I guess,
Correct.
and a black heart.
Correct.
Okay, and this was on Mr. Kelvin Watts' page.
Correct.
All right. Also, and Ms. Knight, thank you.
He's heating
Also
up!
aware that Shellkel or Kelvin Watts has made a song that references Christian McMiller
He's on fire!
and Darius Ford, correct?
He may have.
You never heard Mafia Story by Shellkel and Third World?
I haven't, but it would not surprise me if he did.
I heard my ops died like some thoughts, referring to two snakes dying with their eyes wide open and their tongues out, crime scene nasty in a fast car, died in empty traffic.
That sounds about on brand for Kelvin Watts.
Okay, and that was a reference to the Kia Stinger, the fast car is Kia Stinger that Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford were in.
That sounds about right.
Were Mr. McMiller and Mr. Ford riding in a
He's heating up.
Stinger?
They were in a gray and color Kia Stinger.
Okay, and were they in fact shot on the highway?
Yes, they were on the highway.
He's on fire.
Mr. Watts, despite these 4 posts that you collected and the song, has not been charged with the murder of Christian McMiller or Darius Ford, has he?
No, he has not, but that's also an open investigation that's not assigned to me. So
Okay, that's fine. So, but the answer is he is
He
not
has
in
not.
charge. And it's just 2 years, 8 months later.
it's still open active investigation.
Right, and you've had these, you collected these postings that Mr. Watts made way back in March of 2022.
Correct, but so investigations, just the social media posts aren't enough to arrive at probable cause. You need him maybe on video at the crime scene, before that murder, things of that nature. So if social media was enough for probable cause, a lot of people probably would have gone to jail for this, but we don't do that.
Right, because there were a lot of people posting on social media.
Correct.
A lot of people posting horrible things on social media.
But unfortunately, nobody was on camera at the scene or there, or there was no knife.
Agenda today, and I know that you want to talk about the security cameras, and we will absolutely talk about the security cameras. I promise you.
Commentary and, well,
I'm-
there's commentary going on both sides. Answer the question that's asked.
Okay,
I don't know if Mr. Sharp's going to tell you why he objected. I'd already asked the witness the question about the 90 miles per hour. So that question was done. My next question, I asked her to read the location of PJV2. That's it, what was on the spreadsheet. Then that is when Mr. Sharp objected. So that is the objection that's on the floor. At this point, I've asked her to read PJV2.
well, she is reading off of an ankle monitor report from the ankle monitor company. To the extent that she reads off of it, that's not really my issue. It's when she starts to interpret the data. She doesn't work for that company. I don't know, for instance, the PGV2, whatever, PJV2, I don't expect to hear her testify or what that means, because she's not the ankle monitor person. The ankle monitor person would have been the person to ask about those things. So I don't get.
So the next thing that I was going to show her, which was already admitted, is the picture of PJV2, which is a location that's already in evidence.
How does she? Okay, so
Yes. So this is the spreadsheet, Your Honor.
Okay.
On here, which I had her read earlier on the spreadsheet. The column has the name, column D has the date and time, column E and F is longitude and latitude, and column G is a location. So before the objection, I believe she was reading, or she had read, at March 14th, 2022, at 10:02 p.m., the location PJV2 plus VR, Atlanta, Georgia. That is what my question entailed. And that was the
Okay, and
objection.
she read that?
She
Or
read-
is- Okay, she read PJV2 plus VR, Atlanta, Georgia?
I believe that.
Or is that when the objection came?
That might be when the objection came.
Okay, and then what?
And I was just going to have her read the date and time of that location. Then I was going to show her what has been admitted already as already admitted as 397 BVF.
That plots that location
Correct.
by the ankle monitor company? Or by who?
He's heating up.
Monitor company, that picture as it correlated to this location here. So we printed out Google images of these locations, PJV2, 464 Windsor, which is what I just showed her previously.
By the latitude and longitude?
Yes.
Somebody plotted latitude and longitude
I don't.
on a map
No, we
to
pulled
get that
up,
location?
No. We pulled up the map. We went into Google and we put PJV2 plus VR. We just Googled it. And we pulled up the location.
So essentially, they want someone who doesn't work for the ankle monitor. It might be the ankle monitor company person who's already here. They want someone who doesn't work for the ankle monitor company to take something that's on the ankle monitor company's Excel sheet and then compare it to a Google printout that the prosecutors printed out, and
That is already in evidence?
That's
So
already
it's in evidence. We're not admitting it through her. It's in evidence. The ankle monitor witness introduced it. He
Okay.
introduced it along with the record of the pictures. And so
Okay.
at this point, when Mr. Shard has
Okay, and
challenged,
then what? So you'll then say, and here's this other piece of evidence that is a plot of PJ2 plus VR.
is that the location at the light, the surveillance video that we just observed? Because
Okay.
all this is this is all in response to Mr. Shard's cross-examination about what occurred at the light.
Can you put that back up again, please? The thing that was just up. And from this, you are going to have her extrapolate that because at 10:02, his ankle monitor showed him at that location, then what? Because you came up here and were saying this is going to be able to show that the timeline is accurate across all the different devices. How is it going to do
So the
that?
challenge that Mr. Shard made is that the 9:59 phone call, this started with the phone call at 9:59, which is the wiretap phone call. Mr. Shard asked Investigator Viverito, are you able to know if that is the accurate time?
Uh-huh.
Because of that line of cross-examination, we are now showing Investigator Viverito other admitted evidence that shows a correlation to that 59 time. So when you look at this chart, before we get to the 10:02, which is at PJB2, at 9:59, the
Please
ankle,
put that exhibit back up. Or hand it to me. I'm happy to have a paper copy of it. So now we're talking about 9:59 and not 10:02.
Your Honor, we're showing Mr. Shard started off at 9:59. Then, if you can recall, he went through the entirety of the surveillance video at the FedEx.
Uh-huh.
So that's after 9:59. So what we are showing is other evidence that
He does not dispute that he was at the light
he disputes.
at the same time as Mr. Drinks was.
Your Honor, he disputes that Mr. Stillwell is the person who was shooting. He disputes that the call at 9:59 was a call to get on FaceTime to shoot Mr. Drinks. We are saying that that call, that FaceTime call, is a call that where they said we are getting ready to go shoot the ops. That's why they get on FaceTime. So he is challenging all of that, Your Honor. So what we are showing is at 9:59, if you look here on the ankle monitor, he's at 464 Windsor Street. That is the BP gas station. He then
If the 9:59 is accurate.
Here's
And lined up to, I mean, I don't see how you can establish that 9:59, according to the ankle monitor company, is, spot on to the second. 9:59, according to the wiretap.
But we're saying that it's accurate time, Your Honor, because he's at 464 Windsor, which is where, if you look at the BP gas station video footage, that is when all the cars begin to pull off from the surveillance video at the BP gas station.
But there is no cross-reference to the wiretap, which is the point.
But-
That's
but
my only point.
but
Is
that-
9:59 on the wiretap? We don't know when it is on the rest of these devices, and this information does not give us or other surveillance systems.
Agreed.
And
Do
this-
you have him on the video at the BP station talking on the phone and going like this?
We have the wiretap that has him, we believe, the phone plot.
I know you believe it. Do you have evidence to establish it?
Our evidence,
that-
circumstantial evidence that he is at the gas station. Do we have direct evidence? No, Your
No,
Honor.
do you have evidence that the 9:59 that you want is the same 9:59 on all of the different things that recorded time in video?
That is why we're showing this, Your Honor, because we're trying to show circumstantially that all these times are.
How are you showing circumstantially that it lines up?
Your Honor, because when we look at the ankle monitor information, he is at the 464 Windsor at 9:59. The call comes in at 9:59. The BP gas station surveillance video has 9:59. So we are showing that all of these things coexist. So the time cannot just be off because all of the time are at approximately 9:59.
That's if he got the call when he was still at the gas station.
Your Honor,
The fact that they all at some point say 9:59 doesn't establish anything if you don't have a video that shows him talking on the phone at 9:59 so that you can go, aha, see, the video lines up with the ankle monitor that says 464 Windsor Street. Otherwise, it's just what you want it to say, but it doesn't actually, even circumstantially, establish that. You can argue it, but you can't have a witness say, yep, this says 9:59, so that means
but we
that's
didn't
when
ask
that.
her to say that, Your Honor. We never asked Investigator Rizzo to
but-
say that. We asked
I
her
know,
what
but
time
you were telling me that's what you were
No,
leading up to having her say.
No, it's not, Your Honor. What I said, I would never have her say, is he exactly on the phone at that time because he's in a tinted car, so we don't know. What we know is from the wiretap that at 9:59 there's a phone call. That's what we know.
That at 9:59, according to however the wiretap clock was running.
Correct. Your
Yes,
Honor.
so nobody disputes that.
Your Honor, we've stopped talking about
Ms. Hilton, you
9:59.
came up here and said, I'm asking these questions so that I can establish that the timeline lines up for everything.
Yes, Your Honor, that the timeline lines up. So
Okay.
at this point, I can show that all of these different devices are around approximately the same time.
I don't think anybody disputes even that it's approximately the same time.
Mr. Shard does.
You can have her, it's in evidence. You can have her read something, but you cannot have her say, Yeah, that means all of these times lined up.
I
That
never was
means
gonna have-
9:59 here and 9:59 on the wiretap were the same thing.
We never had her. We were finished with the 959, Your Honor. The only thing I had just asked her was about PJV2 when he objected. Well, we were finished with 959 about 5 questions ago. So the only thing that Mr. Shard objected to at this time was that she was reading PJV2.
No,
That's
that
what he
she
objected.
was about to interpret.
She was not, and that's the thing.
Okay,
That
well,
was,
great. She's not going to.
Okay, well,
and that wasn't the state's intention.
I
Okay,
don't
and I have
know.
no idea why you think any of this is going to establish that all of the times lined up, but
I'm going to object on relevance grounds at this point because I don't know where we're going, but it seems that they were trying to establish something. They said they're done establishing that, and Investigator Viverito is still interpreting ankle monitor data. So I'm going to object to relevance in 403.
Your Honor, as I stated earlier, Mr. Shard has challenged what occurred at the lights.
I
His-
know.
So at this point, we're just showing, based on admitted evidence, what occurred at the lights, Your Honor. That's all.
Can I ask a question? Why is it improper or not relevant? So if there's been questions and testimony about whether the times for everything sync up, I think it's been Mr. Sharp's his argument the entire time. Well, in the screenshot that was admitted to Detective Hogan, and certainly
Okay, I didn't rule that it wasn't relevant. What we discussed up here at the bench was that it's not within the scope of redirect, which is when Ms. Hilton said, oh, yes, it is, because I'm going to be establishing that all of the times line up.
on cross, he disputed that the 959 from wiretap was anywhere close or could be related to the 959 anywhere else.
Was established as being the same 959, and I have heard nothing that, maybe you could tell me how you can establish that.
So at 959, when he makes the FaceTime or the call, he is at 464 Windsor Street. Okay, so then you go to your next step.
No, that is, how do we know that he's at 464 Windsor Street?
Says it. We just,
Because some other item of evidence says it, and we don't know that they're all running on the same clock.
that's what we're trying to show you it is. Because at 959, if everyone will just wait and we'll get to the big ta-da. So at 959 on the wiretap thing, it says 464 Windsor Street. On the ankle monitor, on a separate device, at 959, Mr. Jackson is at 464 Windsor Street. That correlates, they're in the exact same place at the exact same time. At 10:02, it shows that he's at PJVR2, whatever. That's the intersection of I-20 and the light. And then at 10:02, on the FedEx thing, and it says 10:02, 17. So it's the exact same thing. It's to show that all the times line up. All this questioning that the times are not accurate, that the times don't sync up. We're proving that they actually do sync up, which is what he challenged Investigator Viverito about this 959, and she's just making it up, and all the evidence is being presented as how she wants it to. And now we have physical evidence in different videos that show they actually all do sync up, that they're all running on the same, time width or band or whatever.
I think you can argue that. I don't think that is established. But if you want to have her say, but Ms. Hilton says she'll already left 9:59 anyway. So I'm still at a loss as to where we are. But we'll just get her back in and.
I have a motion before the jury comes out, you bring her back in, because unfortunately it's my job to further tax the patience of the court.
What's that?
Yeah, I have a motion to strike the testimony of Investigator Viverito as well as any evidence that came under her. And the reason I make this motion, Your Honor, is yesterday it came up that she had not been, that she had been following the case. The court asked me to not
No,
pursue
it
that.
did not come up that she had been following the case. It came up that she knew that somebody had mentioned her on Twitter.
Okay, and your opinion would have been different if she was following the case?
No, if you know that she was following the case, that doesn't exclude her as a witness. You can let the jury know that.
Okay, because
You can ask her that.
I can ask her about her following the case?
Sure, and we'll see what she says.
Okay.
And if that's so, then it still doesn't exclude her testimony. It just lets the jury know, well, she may know some of this other stuff from listening to some other witness.
Okay, because what I would like to get into, and we may as well bring it up now before the jury is here, is that she got into an altercation out in the hallway with Kayla Bumpus.
Why is that relevant to the guilt or innocence? of
I'm
these men?
about to go there, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just let me finish a second. She got into it because she was watching Kayla Bumpus's YouTube feed about this case, and Kayla Bumpus apparently called her.
Okay, you may get into whether she has been tracking this case.
Mhm.
You may not get into whether she got into a dispute with somebody
gets into
about
her-
their posts.
It gets into her bias against these defendants, Your Honor. It goes directly to it.
What are you proposing to ask?
I'm proposing to ask if she told Kayla Bumpus in the hallway that was the last time she was going to call her a hoe. It goes direct.
I'm sorry, the last time who was going
That
to call?
Kayla, sorry for the pronouns, that Kayla Bumpus was going to call Investigator Viverito
We need to
a
get
hoe.
into who it was, or just that somebody,
I think we need to get into who it
Right.
was.
why?
Because she's married to Mr. Jackson.
Well, was she at the time? Is this for real, y'all?
Yeah.
None of this is relevant.
Well, it.
None of this is relevant. Whatever is happening between Ms. Bumpus, Mr. Jackson, has nothing to do with the guilt or innocence.
If she-
Unfortunately, the bias of a witness, well, fortunately, or I strike that. It is not fortunate or unfortunate, except for the fact that it is dragging this case on even longer. But a witness's bias towards a party may always be shown.
If she is in this, if she's
I'll
in,
talk at the same time.
Kayla Bumpus is not a party to this incident. Kayla,
Yes, but if she's married to one of the parties, then that might qualify.
If I may, I don't know I'm not the proponent of this evidence. I'm hearing Mr. Weinstein out, but my silence should not be viewed as acquiescence that I believe this should be admitted. I need to hear what Mr. Weinstein's saying because I may have an objection myself.
What I'm saying is that if there is a relationship between Ms. Bumpus and the defendant, then Investigator Vivarito's bias against that.
Against being called a bad name?
No, if she is in an altercation with someone that's in a relationship with the defendant, I think, and especially if it is a threat, because
How is that a threat?
that's the last time you're going to call me a hoe. I mean, I've had clients arrested for less.
You may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, I'm not finished with my sentence. You may ask if she is following the case and has been following the case in any kind of manner. But it's really only relevant if she listened to the testimony of a witness. So you could ask that. But if she's just looking at, and I don't even know if she was looking at, maybe somebody told her. So why don't we get her in here and find all of that out outside the presence of the jury before we go into something that ends up being a bunch of nothing?
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up when the jury wasn't here, Your Honor.
So can we also bring up before we go into the side searches, the fact that Ms. Bumpus represented Mr. Copeland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think saying who this is before we find out anything, I mean, do we know whether, we don't even know whether she's actually married to him or if she was married to him at the time or if Ms. Vivarito knows that or if it was because of any kind of bias against Mr. Stillwell or just that she doesn't like being called that name.
Well, and no one would, Your Honor, obviously. But if she is in an altercation with someone in a
What do
relationship,
you mean by altercation?
a verbal altercation.
Okay. I mean,
You know,
the
if there's-
verbal, that's the
if there-
last time you're going to call me that?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's the last time you're going to call me that? That's not exactly an altercation. Is that all you got?
That's all I have.
Okay, that's it. I think that this is 403 material.
There we go. 1 minute stand.
Hoisted on my own petard, Your Honor.
Correct. All right, let's get the witness back in and the jury back in.